Today's topic, Bill Cosby. My man's gone free. It's one of the few times where he said hashtag free Cosby.
Yeah.
And he got freed. So, if you guys haven't heard already, Bill Cosby is out after serving 2 years of what was supposed to be a much longer sentence. He got out early because the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, I believe, overruled the decision and decided to also bar the prosecution from ever prosecuting him again, which means he will not be going back to jail for these crimes. And that is where we stand today. He's completely exonerated. He's a free man. He's already made a few TV interviews. He's angry. He feels like he was unjustly done. So, if you guys don't know what happened, Cosby was charged with Weinsteining a lady. Basically, how it ended up happening was the previous DA, the district attorney, made a deal with Cosby in a civil suit to get him to testify. And the deal was that they wouldn't bring any criminal charges against him if he testified, basically giving him immunity. And this also extended to future DAs. The new DA comes in, says that deal isn't any good, throw it out. I'm going to use a testimony where you incriminated yourself in this criminal trial and send him to jail, which he spent 2 years in prison for. The Supreme Court decided that you can't do that if you make a deal with someone, especially if you make them renounce one of their rights,
which is the Fifth Amendment,
right? Which I think is like protection.
I plead the Fifth.
Yeah, protection from like self-incrimination, right? That you are usurping the law and the understandings between defendants and prosecutions. So yeah, that's how it happened. So that's kind of like the gist of it and the technicalities. He's a free man. At the end of the day, he's 83. I'd highly doubt they're going to bring another case against him. He has a few more years. It's a wrap for him. Did he get away with it? Yeah, he did. Like a lot of powerful, influential men, a lot of them get away with their crimes. You know, that's kind of the norm. At the end of the day, his legacy was destroyed whether he got released or not. They have him admitting to these crimes already. Even if it's in a civil suit, they have him admitting to it. So he's done this. This wasn't coerced. This wasn't forced. He admitted to this because he did do this. As far as Bill Cosby's legacy, he's going to be seen for those acts. Everything else, most of it's going to get erased. So there's no silver lining here. I don't think this is a great ending or anything like that. It's just the reality of the situation. So those are pretty much my thoughts. You know what worked in Bill's benefit? The fact that he worked alone. Because if he was like Jeffrey Epstein, he was working with a bunch of people doing all that stuff as a group, Bill would have never made it out alive.
Oh, they would have flipped.
No, he would have never made it out alive. They would have got him.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not going to let you rat out the rich niggas. Look at Bill Gates. He's like being associated with like the fucking prince of like some country I never heard of. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, Bill worked alone. You know what I mean? It was him, Spanish Fly, and a Spanish girl, right? So it worked out pretty well for him.
Quaaludes, not Spanish Fly.
So,
Spanish Fly isn't written.
Sometimes teamwork is not the best word. That's all I'm saying.
You got that right.
So, if you go do a crime, try not to involve a bunch of people. And when I heard he got released, I was just like, after this pandemic, I'll believe anything.
But what did you expect? After what was done, of course, I was like, yeah, sure, of course.
Well, I thought he was going to die in jail.
You thought?
He was in jail for 2 years. You don't really think something's going to get overturned. It's not like I followed the case that closely.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
So,
that's why, you don't really care that much.
Oh, yeah. Appeals are generally not that successful.
And now exactly when you stop following. When he said that he did it.
No, once he went to jail.
Once he said he did it, I mean, that was, man.
Yeah. So, you know, the thing about Bill, I think the thing about Bill that I've always hated was like he was always telling people to be uptight and to be correct and polite and all this stuff, and find out behind closed door he thought it was hilarious to put women to bed and bang them. Pudding. Preach. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, well, first and foremost, the first thing that you have to understand is that it's not because he's free that he's not guilty. You understand what I'm saying? OJ. It's really just because basically the DA fucked up. The DA messed up pretty bad. He's stripping someone from their rights, their fundamental rights in the Constitution of the United States of America. You mess up. So the person that did the disservice to all the women is the DA. That's what happened. The one that, no, let me go against that. It's easily overthrown. You gave that man a case. The first DA that gave that deal, I don't even really understand what the deal was to, try to give that deal. Because if he was just to say, yeah, I did this and I did that and I did that, whatever, whatnot, but we're not going to incriminate yourself. It's just basically, I understand how these ladies might have felt like I was a danger to their life or whatever, whatnot. And that's basically a slap on the wrist or whatever.
Well, the thing is, they didn't have much of a case against him without his testimony. The reason why the second DA was able to convict him because he testified and admitted to stuff.
Yeah, I was just talking about the first DA.
So the reason why the first DA made that deal, who's like, I can't get him on anything, so let me at least get him to admit this, so there might be a civil suit that'll work out. Yeah. So I think that was.
But he was a civil suit.
But I will say, generally, immunity deals like this are not given for these kind of crimes. Generally, they're reserved for white collar crimes. Things like tax fraud or things like
collusion.
Yeah, or stock exchange stuff, like those kind of crimes. That's when you get immunity for giving a testimony or whatever. But for criminal cases, it's not very common that you get this kind of stuff. The last case where this kind of thing happened, funny enough, was Jeffrey Epstein back in 2007. If you aren't aware, Jeffrey Epstein was initially charged with fondling girls. That was reduced to the craziest sentence you can imagine. He had to do 1 year in jail, but it wasn't even 1 year in jail. He would go to jail during the day and go home at night.
Yeah. Which is...
So the only correlation between the two is that they're very powerful, influential men, and they seem to have gotten off lightly. Now,
basically, it's just like what happened to OJ. It's not because the glove didn't fit, and it's not because the LAPD didn't, tempered with the evidence that it didn't happen. You know what I mean?
They have a term for that? It's called fruit of the poisonous tree. Right? Because if you get items from someone's house without a warrant, that stuff gets excluded from the case because of the fact that your procedures weren't accurate. So to allow that in is to reward people who break procedures.
Yeah, but also there was evidence that were planted.
Right.
On top of that, but
that's criminal. But I get what you're saying.
Whatever. Yeah. Anyways, all that to say, absolutely. Like you're saying, there's a funny conspiracy theory about OJ. That actually OJ didn't do it, but he was actually involved, and it was his kid that did it, and that's why the glove didn't fit. So OJ and the long chase that happened with the LAPD was for the the long chase that happened with the LAPD was for the kid to be able to throw out the evidence. It's a funny story, but whatever went out.
That's my face when I watch Alex Jones. Normally I'm also laughing. I'm laughing because he's hilarious. Carry on.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I mean, you messed up. You could have left it alone like that. And there was nothing you could have done better than that, than what was happening there. And look now you had a whole bunch of people pissed, and you got this guy free. He would have been free. You just really wanted him in jail, but you didn't have much of a case.
Not a big fan, but that's my thoughts on him. Anything else?
No.
Well, then what do you guys think about this whole Bill Cosby thing? Are you glad? Are you upset? Do you guys agree? Disagree? I want to hear your thoughts.